I work through the night, and I've always worked through the night. I worked nights for many years when I was nursing. For me, the night, when it's really, really quiet, 10:30 at night when everybody else is going to bed, I'm just making a big pot of coffee and getting everything ready to go to work. And years ago, when I was first writing my books, because I've done 19 books now, but I used to listen for the milkman coming. And then I'd hear the rattling. I think, oh, I better go to bed soon. And now I wait to hear my chickens crow. As soon as I hear all the chickens or my cockerels start going, I think, oh, it's time to stop. And you sort of wind down naturally. But for me, the night is the time when I get all my ideas and when things sort of start happening for me. I've always been a night bird. I always resented sleeping. Even when I was at school, I used to stay up till 4 and 5 in the morning reading. So I probably average about 3 hours a night sleep. But, sometimes I do writers' conferences and these really fantastic authors say, oh, I get up at 6, and I do 2 hours from 6 till 8 a.m. And I'm probably just have my breakfast then because I've been up all night anyway. But for me, it's the night, will always be the night. For me, it depends on what the book is, really. I think sometimes a book, once you really get into a book and, the book then starts to write itself. Once you get your characters right, they write themselves. It sounds odd, but, you know how they will react to things. You know what's going to happen to them. People forget sometimes with authors, we give people lives. We put wallpaper on the walls, we give them cars to drive, families. So once that all sort of sets into place, the book pretty much writes itself. There were so many books. I'm such a prolific reader. I read everything. I think when I was very young, when I first read Graham Greene, Brighton Rock, I've always been attracted to the darker side of life, obviously, with my books. And I quite felt sorry for Pinky a lot through the book, because I felt he was quite misunderstood, and I felt whatever kind of life he'd had led him to where he became this such a, untrusting, hateful person. And that sort of really hit me, and it did really make me think about where I lived and my surroundings, because I lived sort of on the peripheries of, a big council estate, and there was a lot of crime. And they say write about what you know, and they also say crime doesn't pay, but I can prove that that's not true, can't I? But and nobody was writing books like my books. Nobody was writing from the point of view of the criminal, really. So I found the criminal much more interesting than the police. So I think probably Graham Greene. Music is such a big part of my life. I work with Alabama Free, work with their record company. We've got Jam at Brixton. I'm on their new album, actually, Shoplifting for Jesus. I'm rapping at the front, one of the records, but you really don't want to hear it. Music's always been a really big influence to me. My youngest daughter's 14, my oldest son's nearly 35. I brought my children up with a love of books and a love of music. I woke up this morning, my daughter was playing Tubular Bells, believe it or not, on the piano, which was a bit mad. But I think music is so important because music can take you back in an instant to a time in your life when you were either really happy or it was one of the worst times of your life. And I think that's the type of effect as a writer you try and get in a book. You try and give the reader how deeply the character is feeling. So I think music is very important. If I'm in the 60s, I play 60s music. If I'm in the 70s, I play 70s music. And it gives you the era. So yeah, music and reading.